its historic journey into space by crashing into the comet it has studied for the last 2 years. Rosetta has gathered unique data, pictures and measurements to reveal the structure and chemistry of Comet 67P, even landing a robot on its surface. Its 12-year mission to explore the origins of the solar system has been a huge success for the European Space Agency. In a moment, we'll be live at Mission Control in Germany. But first, here's our science correspondent, Palab Ghosh.
Applause at Mission Control for the end of one of the most audacious missions in the history of space exploration. The Rosetta spacecraft has just gently crashed on the comet it's been tracking for 2 years.
I declare hereby the mission operations ended for Rosetta. This is a culmination of tremendous scientific and technical success for this mission.
And it was just the same 2 years ago. Scientists couldn't contain their joy when Rosetta sent down a probe to land on the comet. Unfortunately, it bounced off the surface and crash-landed in a dark ravine. It wasn't able to send back as much data as researchers had hoped, though what information it did transmit was invaluable. And the orbiting Rosetta spacecraft captured some of the most spectacular images ever taken of a comet. It collected enough data to keep scientists busy for decades.
It's absolutely an Apollo moment in terms of exploration, and it's just a game changer in how we explore the solar system. And it's that next piece in that jigsaw puzzle of asking those really fundamental questions of who we are, where did we come from, why did we exist, is there life, in our solar system, beyond our solar system.
These are among Rosetta's final pictures as it plunged to the surface. It's the end of an incredible mission, but the beginning of a new understanding of how comets and the planets in our solar system were created. Palab Ghosh, BBC News.
Yes, what a journey, quite amazing. Well, let's cross to Darmstadt in Germany. Our correspondent Rebecca Morel is at Mission Control for us. Rebecca, another successful day, but I would suspect for many of the scientists there, a bittersweet day.
Yeah, very emotional for the team here. Many of them feeling actually quite bereft that this mission has come to an end, its operations phase at least. I mean, the idea was actually conceived in the 1980s. The mission was given the go-ahead in 93. It took 10 years to build the spacecraft, then another 10 years to travel to the comet, getting into orbit around it, putting the lander down on the surface. I mean, there have been so many firsts, so many achievements with this particular mission. So the scientists have been feeling sad today, but there's also been a real sense of pride too. I'm joined here by Dr. Matt Taylor, who's the project scientist on the Rosetta mission. And it's the question everyone's been asking, but I mean, how's today felt for you? You've been working on this for a long time.
Yeah, there are people here that have spent their entire lives working on this mission. It's bittersweet. We've got to a stage where we've achieved so much with this mission, but at the same time, it's like it becomes part of your family, this spacecraft, and there's a sense of loss as well. But we've achieved so much, and that counteracts that feeling. So yeah, it's a mix.
I mean, did we really have to kill off the spacecraft? I mean, it's a great place for it to end up, but did we really have to do it?
Yeah, we had to do something with the spacecraft now. We were running out of power. It was far too far away from the sun to do anything more in the next few months. We weren't going to get enough data from it, and the way we went out enabled us to get to a part of the comet that we never would have been able to in any other way. We had to get below 2 kilometers. It's a very important scientific goal, and then the only way to do it was to plummet to the surface, and that's what we did.
I mean, what would you say is the legacy of the mission? You mentioned, this last burst of science on the way down. It's been 2 years of intensive observations. What have we found out?
Well, I'd like to use a comment that Eberhard Grun, who's one of the kind of grandfathers of Rosetta, who come up with the concept. He came up to me after the end saying, you know what, this is very like the Rosetta Stone in itself. What we've achieved up to now, so the loss of the spacecraft is the same as gaining the Rosetta Stone. So we have the stone, but now we have to analyse it to understand what the hieroglyphs are. What are the secrets of the solar system? What is the ancient language of the solar system? That's where we are now. So we've ended the operational mission, but now we have decades of science to dig into the data.
I mean, this really has transformed our understanding of comets in a sense. I mean, we used to just think of them as these balls of ice and dust whizzing around, but this is just such a, I mean, just in terms of how it looks, it's such a complex geological world, isn't it?
Exactly, it's just massively extreme. So we had that basic idea of what a comet looks like, and Rosetta's just given this, you know, it booted us way ahead into how we're supposed to conceive this stuff, how we, the challenges we have is how we take what we know now and compare it to all of the other comets. So there's so much to do, we've learned so much, but you know, you make the analogy of how Philae scratched the surface when it went down. That's where we are in terms of the science. We've just started to get into that science. It's a low percentage of how we haven't had enough time to look at all of this data. So, you know, all the kids out there that are in high school and they want to do some science, you can go and do some science with Rosetta in the future, because there's so much to go round, and we need people to help us look at this science.
Dr. Matt Taylor, thank you very much. So possibly decades worth of observations and discoveries still to be made by the team. But I think one of the really big legacies has actually been the way it's captured the public's imagination. It's not every day that you get a robotic mission. You know, this hasn't involved putting humans up into space, a little robot, but the way, you know, people have really got on board with it, especially when Philae landed and now with the crash landing today with Rosetta. And I think that is a big legacy, the way it's inspiring future generations to actually get involved with science. So, you know, a big day for the team here, but the work will still go on.